They successfully got the Board of Education. They also got a group called the American Center for Law and Justice to agree to pro bono defend First Cathedral, or the Enfield Board of Education, should the ACLU follow through with their threat of lawsuit. And with that, the Board of Education decided to make, and these are his words, if I can quote him. The BOE based its decision on fiscal rather than constitutional issues. Since the church was significantly cheaper to hold graduation at than a non-religious venue, they decided to go with the cheap, inexpensive solution and forgo any constitutional civil liberty issues that might be at play. So he says, "Thank God for last night's victory."
Yeah.
My high school had its graduation at school facilities on campus.
We had ours at the Hartford Civic Center.
Yeah, it's hard to see how.
But he continues to use wonderfully strong language against several groups. You know, having failed to get payback against the Catholic Church for its opposition to same-sex quote-unquote marriage,
There we go.
Connecticut's cultural left has now trained its personal vendetta on First Catholic, a Protestant megachurch, whose pastor, Archbishop Leroy Bailey, fought hard for traditional marriage. The ACLU has bullied several communities into withdrawing their graduations from First Cathedral on the basis of very weak legal arguments. If Enfield had not resisted, it would have increased the power of the aggressive secularism and caused further harm to the proper role of faith communities in our state. And that proper role is apparently have graduation in the church, have prom in the church, get married in the church, do everything in the church.
Yeah, unless
Even
you're
if you're
same-sex
not-
couple, and then,
And then,
not allowed.
and then you're not allowed. With Enfield's willingness to stand up, others may now do the same. The message from Enfield is that people of faith will not be silent. We will stand up against the efforts to bully or intimidate us. The ACLU drawing a constitutional question of church and state to the situation is bullying.
Yeah.
But having 36 of your members call every Board of Ed person isn't.
Yeah.
In one night, 36 FIC members called every member of the Enfield Board of Education. They showed up at Board of Education meetings, and if they're Enfield residents, that's fine. If they're not, then that's pressure.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
and then the fun part is support the one group leading the fight for religious liberty of all Connecticut's churches, just not temples and synagogues and mosques and any other religious institution that doesn't operate out of a church.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, religious liberty for all really should mean for all, not all Christians.
Right. Right. And that's the real key part of this message, I think.
And you know, it's a fight that it's sort of already been done. You know, I mean, we have this thing called the First Amendment.
Right.
You know, it's like religious liberty is pretty well protected already. So I don't know. This is just
Well, and one of the things that happened earlier this year, which they take full credit for, and
the First Amendment.
if
I
you,
wouldn't
if
put
you
it
let
past
them.
them.
No, there was a very bad bill that got raised
Right.
that was going to put extra onus and extra scrutiny on Catholic, I think it was Catholic
Right. And
churches.
it was a stupid bill.
And it was a stupid bill because, you know, you can't do it just to a Catholic church.
Right.
If you're going, it was to force them to have a larger laity oversight panel or something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, you start reading the opening of the bill, and it's like, this is a stupid bill. And I agreed with them fighting that. It was wrong.
Yeah.
Because you can't single out one church.
Correct.
One denomination. If the legislators wanted to pass the bill that said in the state of Connecticut, all religious institutions need to have a laity board of at least 9 people, then I don't think that would have fallen on the same issues.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm just sitting here thinking about this argument. And would I argue for going ahead and allowing them to have this sort of religious overtones in a public high school graduation if they included Islam, if they included Judaism, if they included Wicca, and I don't think so, because Americans also have the right not to be religious.
Sure.
Church and state are separate for a reason. I mean, I can't figure out a compelling argument for having it, for associating the two.
Well, and there is, at its core, the separation of church and state, from my understanding, from my reading of it, really bears on the church not being able to infringe upon the operation of the state and the state not infringing upon the operation of the church.
Right.
But through the years, it has been expanded to include protecting individuals from one or the other.
Right.
You know, the individual's right to participate in government should not be impeded by a church telling them who to vote for, and an individual's right to participate in a church should not be dictated by government legislation.
Right.
Well, an individual's right to not participate in a church, shouldn't be forced upon them by a government agency either.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. And just read the First Amendment. Anyway, so it's sort of much ado about nothing, in fact. But it's unfortunate that the FIC manages to twist everything this way.
Oh, and on top of which, I'm not sure that religious institutions such as the Catholic Church have demonstrated such a great track record of making decisions that are in the best interest of the laity.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he molested some kids, but it's better off for the church if we cover it up and make you sign non-disclosure agreements and gag orders.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, we have issues with that.
And everyone should have issues with
Yes.
that.
Right.
A priest who's committing pedophilia is violating laws, not just
But isn't
committing a
s-
sin.
But isn't speaking out against it really just the petty gossip of dominant majority?
Right. Oh, God. Yes. Yeah. So what's going on with that? Has
Well, he followed up the next week, I believe, if memory serves, by equating the suffering that the church leadership is going through with religious persecution, with persecution such as was endured by
The Jews during
yeah,
the Holocaust.
I saw
Yes.
that.
singularly offensive.
Yes.
So,
Oh, God.
and which begs the question, okay, so to criticize me criticizes religion.
Well, yeah, and
Who else said something like that?
And they went a step further from that as well. Not that you can go much further from relating your own personal political issues and legal issues to the persecution of Jews during the Holocaust. But they also came out and said that, and this is unheard of because there's no actual allegation in place yet, or there wasn't at the time. Some of the appropriate legal person in the Roman Catholic Church had come out and said that the Pope, as a head of state, has immunity to prosecution.
Yeah.
And I read today that Richard Dawkins, who's a renowned atheist, is petitioning the British government to arrest the Pope when he comes to visit Britain in the upcoming weeks
Sure.
on charges because it violates international law. The information that's come out, the protecting the priest. This is I've forgotten the words now, but there's collusion involved here that
Sure.
he intentionally shielded the accused.